Okay, we're going to try something called a question storm. Ooh, it's orange. I hate orange. Okay.
Orange is great.
Sunset orange is the prettiest.
Nope, hate it. Here's the thing. We, this week, have read 6 chapters, or at least you were supposed to by today, and we haven't had a chance to talk really about any of them. So I'm going to kind of compress all of the questioning that we would normally do and have spread out into this question storm. So there are, coincidentally, 6 groups, and there's 6 chapters.
Whoa.
No. So with your group,
That is good.
it's almost like I plan ahead of time, you know what I mean? It's really weird. I know. With group, you're going to list all questions you have about your chapter. Anything, no matter, thank you so much, Ricardo, no matter how, where's mine? You come in here with a Frappuccino, and I have no Frappuccino in my hand right now, just a tardy slip.
Where's mine at?
Leave it on the side. Get it after class.
Together. Use the peanut butter.
Just remember, as you do this question storm, it's literally any question, no matter how small. You think it might be silly, write it down anyway, okay? Do not edit yourself at all. We're going to have a chance to go back and edit, okay? As many people as there are at the table, that's how many markers your group will get, and it's a big piece of paper. So if you have someone who's a super fast writer, there can be one scribe, or you might want to all grab a marker and just all start writing on the paper once, okay? Questions on what you're going to do when I give you this beautiful blue piece of paper. Already. Will each table send up someone to get their paper and their markers? You don't have 2 people, right? Okay. Thank you. Which table has not sent someone up? Oh, thank you, Jason. There you go. There you go. Grab as many markers as you have people.
That's 3, Jason.
2?
All right. I am setting my handy dandy timer for, do you guys think 8 minutes is enough time?
No.
10?
15.
How about this? I'm gonna set it for 8 and I'm gonna evaluate if people need more time. Okay? And then I'll give that 2 extra minutes. And go. Every single question you can think of for your chapter. And I'm gonna take roll.
Let's see, what kind of portion is it?
Just like a list.
Just a list.
We'll edit later.
Write it down. You can write it down.
Yeah.
I told you to give me the boy.
Wait, is the girl? Yeah, she was afraid that as soon as I had the social, she chose
Just write all the questions down.
Listen, I just want to know what happens in the chapter, so I know my questions are up. I don't have to give me the chapter.
What you did?
We're just like summarizing chapters.
Because there's a lot of stuff that happened in the book. Oh, you didn't remember, but I didn't know what happened in the chapter. They passed it. So I want to go back and look what. You don't know which one it is, and you're gonna get in that chapter like 5 times. So. Yeah.
Should have given them 3 minutes to review the chapter before they did the questions. Anybody else not have a book with them today? Because I got one more extra copy. No, so everybody does.
No. I mean, whatever. We should decide like I give them
Yeah, like that. Why did they send I mean,
Oh, well. Give me a question. We need
What
questions.
chapter was
Why did they start fighting?
little fiasco with that?
21. That's what
Oh,
I'm
see?
reading.
Oh. I think so. I don't know.
Man, can I look this?
You can put anything.
Do you know what this is?
So I wanted to.
Or what does indulge me in the sentence if I consider? Because then it'll.
I mean, I kind of
Okay,
understand.
observe.
About what it says after. So why?
Also, Bailey came out of observing stuff.
Where?
Bailey came out of his absorption and was watching. Channel 156. KET TV.
Spend time on?
Yeah. Where's mine?
Because he's reading a book.
So much material, so TV, sick. I'm guessing for the same.
Why did you compare the fighter to her own race? Okay. You guys don't have any questions about this chapter other than
So far, no, but we're still looking for
Ask that question.
things that matters.
Why would she say that?
This is our first time doing this. Thought is that we A, need to review ahead of time, and B, maybe we need to even do the questions as a class first, and then release. Well, that was our 8 minutes, and clearly we need more time, so keep going, guys. Xavier, that's not really important right now. Need you back with your group, please.
My book is probably hard. It's not involved. It's in everything.
You owe me mad money.
No, it's not my fault. All I do is wait.
You can write the
That looks like one of these. That's all the questions we have about the chapter.
No, I don't. I just said that. Why they
She's 11 at the time. So she's a hoe. Why? She should not be active.
Hadia, your group sounds to be like they're discussing something. More That's right. Keep her honest, Brandy.
You all was together for a long time, 40 years. But
Why did she
together. He said it's been around 6 months since she's gone to her race. You gotta keep paying attention. At this point, it's still very restricted. Cool. So she's got somebody to do it.
Well, I mean,
Probably.
Two questions. 5 questions. 2 questions. 4 questions.
You don't want to do
A whole lot, like 10 questions.
but it's been around 6 months since she's gone to
6
her race.
questions.
Oh, it's maybe for the teachers. Like after they get changes.
Tommy, who's
This next one is old.
No, because when I was about it.
Cause like you knew more about it than most of us did. So
But it's been 6 months.
But in those times, they would have been
Said don't do that tomorrow.
I laid it out. No,
She knows about that.
Did you say?
Yeah. 30 seconds, then we'll move on to the next part. good.
Smart as-
Except for the fact that I've got Bad Blood stuck in my head, and literally I think I just recorded myself singing Bad Blood, so that's not really top on my list of awesome
I'll play you a
things.
different song if I'm allowed to.
No, that's alright, I'm good, I'm good. Yeah,
Because I got a song better than Bad Blood, but it's nothing good.
I appreciate that. You're always thinking about me, Heidi.
I'm pretty caring. Pretty considerate, selfless.
Alright guys, that's our 30 seconds. Whew. So, something that I learned from this is you guys need a little bit more time to kind of process. And I also learned that it might have been good to give you guys a couple of minutes to review your chapter before I let you go, write down a whole bunch of questions. So I will remember that for the future. What I would like is for everybody to, around the room, hang up their posters. Everybody should have a marker because their group took as many markers as our people. And when you see a question that you think that we should answer as a group, you think it's a high value question, I want you to put a little star by it or a check by it or some sort of mark, and we'll answer those questions that everybody has really invested in. Does that make sense, guys? All right, so stand up, hang up your posters around the room, don't do it all in one spot, and I'm going to give us 5 minutes to walk around and read. Make your mark.
Or in the plastic one here?
Yeah, that's fine. Just don't put this, yeah.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good idea. Thank you for thinking about the other teacher, guys. Appreciate it. You guys can put it right on the board.
Do you have tape?
Oh, it's falling down.
Markers are good for the soul. I'm starting this one.
You're looking for questions that you want to discuss as a class.
Idea. I think this one's related to that.
Top of 185, 158.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Oh,
on.
wait, never mind.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Where's the...
Try and put a star on every poster, guys. I know there's some good questions here that you guys are walking right by. Maybe you have the answer, and then that'll be why we talk about it. Because we got someone who's an expert already.
Me. I'm a smart retarded.
I didn't go to either one.
I know that's the way I'm trying to be. Got it.
I'm sorry.
Listen, ladies. Why?
You're the little lady here. Move, can I get through?
No. No. You better go around.
I am
You better go around. You better go around. You better go around.
Since you're just recording me, here's what they're doing.
I did miss the board of something. Oh, this is so good. Yeah, it is.
That's a question.
No, take it off.
One more minute.
What was that?
I'm trying to what is mumble peg? I don't know what that word means.
Why is it gold? Oh, why were they one?
Oh my god.
One more.
All right, guys, let's head on back to your seat and grab your book.
It doesn't matter. This is all me in my brain. You're so slow.
Me? She can't.
All right. We're going to start with, obviously, chapter 17. That was the first. I see a whole bunch of stars and checks next to the question of what is mumbly peg. Please go to page 112. $112, 112. At the bottom of the page, Bailey played mumbly peg with the older boys around the chinaberry tree.
It's a game.
It's some kind of game. Here's the honest truth. I don't know what mumbly peg is.
Google it.
Google it. Is it necessary for me to know what mumbly peg is in order to understand this chapter?
No.
Okay. So that's one of those things that's kind of an event question. And I love that we're starting with that because those significant passages, we're trying to stay away from events. This is a great example of the events are not quite as important because we can understand it without knowing all the details. Okay? So what's the next one on there that has a lot? Why did Maya have self-pity? Who had chapter 17? Can you guys guide us to where you were looking at for why did Maya have self-pity?
114, like in the middle paragraph right here.
114, 114. Like most self-pitying people, I had very little pity for my relatives' anxiety. If something indeed had happened to Bailey, Uncle Willie would always have Mama, and Mama had the store. Then after all, we weren't children, their children. But I would be the major loser if Bailey turned up dead, for he was all I claimed, if not all I had. So, like most self-pitying people, I had very little pity for my relatives' anxiety. The question is, why did Maya have self-pity? But do you have any thoughts on why Maya might have had self-pity? Keep it inside just for a second, Heidi, let everybody else think. Why did Maya have self-pity? Okay, hands. Who can tell me why Maya might have had some self-pity? Nathan and then Heidi.
Probably because she was raped.
Okay, so partly because of her rape. So she's got some residual baggage from that. Is that what your thought is?
That you have the devil on your side and the angel.
Oh, your conscience?
Yeah.
Okay. Her conscience is there with her. Hadia?
I was going to say, like, throughout the book we've read so far, she's been developing herself as a character that, like you said, feels displaced and, like, isn't as good as everybody else. So, like, throughout the story, she's just been developing herself. She doesn't have something.
Hadia says she's been developing as a self-pitying character. She's always displaced. People tell her she's not quite good enough. So she's been building that pity. Jerry?
So she feels bad for herself, which is why she feels like she has it the worse than anybody else, which is why she says she has very little pity for her relatives' anxiety, that nobody has more to worry about than her.
No one has more to worry about than Maya. Her life is the hardest. And if you think your life is the hardest, well, you don't care as much about other people's pain. Karina?
I was thinking, because then she mentioned something about like Betty, like if he's like that, she would be all by herself. Maybe that's why, because mostly like other people will have someone for themselves, or like they have someone to rely on, but she doesn't have anyone else but Bailey?
She has no one but Bailey to rely on. Any other thoughts, Ian?
Yeah, like what Karina said, I think like Bailey's the only like positive kind of thing in her life. That's what she thinks, and yeah, it kind of goes back to like they always call her tenderhearted, I think it was. So like yeah, a lot of people think that like what you said, she's not good enough.
She's not good enough. Awesome. All right, chapter 18. Whole lot of check marks next to why was the tent foreign to the cotton field? I'm going to turn to chapter 18. Can someone in chapter 18 please tell us where they were looking at for that question? Who had chapter 18? 122, guys. Thank you. Nope, I still lost it. Approached in the dark, the swaying bulbs looked lonely and purposeless, not as if they were there to provide light or anything meaningful. And the tent, that blurry, bright, three-dimensional A, was so foreign to the cotton field that it might just get up and fly away before my eyes. What kind of tent are we actually talking about? One of them big tents, says Nathan. Can you add more detail to that, Nathan? What you talking about?
Like, see how the military has those tents in the desert? And it has the little opening.
Well, I would have loved to show you a picture, but you know the joys of technology. All right, talk some more, Nathan. There's big military tents, and therefore what? Okay. Is this a military tent, guys? We're on 122, middle of the page. Arcelia's pointing at Jerry. Jerry, did you have something to say?
He said something and then Nathan started talking.
Jerry, go for it.
Well, in the paragraph before it says that it's a cloth tent, and then in this one it says it's a three-dimensional A. So I'm thinking it's kind of like a teepee type thing.
What's the purpose of the tent, guys? Mama has just been talking to that brother Stuart about at the bottom of 121. Praise the Lord, no ma'am. Got enough left over from last night to do us. We going home and gonna get cleaned up to go to the revival meeting. Then the cloth tent had been set on the flatlands in the middle of the field near the railroad tracks. The earth was carpeted with a silky layer of dry grass and cotton stalks. Collapsible chairs were poked into the still soft ground, and a large wooden cross hung from the center beam at the rear of the tent. This is a revival meeting tent. Has anyone ever heard of a revival meeting? Okay, so this is actually good. I like that this question led us to something that's maybe even more meaningful within it. A revival in this time period was when a famous preacher, a really popular preacher, would go around from town to town, like the circus would travel around from town to town. He had this huge tent, and it would be a big event in the town that everybody goes to a revival meeting. And it's like the most exciting time in church that you can imagine. Lots of singing, lots of people out in the aisles praising God, all sorts of excitement. Okay? So we're in this cotton field, and he's got this big, bright, electric light tent set up. And that's why it looks so foreign. It's completely different than anything that's normally in town. Okay? Chapter, oh, I'm out of order. Where's my 19? 19! Why were they wanting that black guy to win? Where's black guy, guys? What page are we on?
First page.
The first page, 133? Joe Louis. That's the black guy we're talking about. 133. The apprehensive mood was shot through the shafts of gaiety as a black sky is streaked with lightning. I ain't worried about this fight. Joe's gonna whip that cracker like it's open season. He gonna whip until that white boy call him mama. At last, the talking was finished, and the string-along songs about razor blades were over, and the fight began. Quick jab to the head. In the store, the crowd grunted. A left to the head, and a right, and another left. One of the listeners cackled like a hen and was quiet. They're in a clinch. Lewis is trying to fight his way out. Some bitter comedian on the porch said, that white man don't mind hugging that nigga now, I bet you. The referee is moving in to break them up, but Lewis finally pushed the contender away and says, uppercut to the chin. The contender's hanging on. Now he's backing away. Lewis catches him with a short left to the jaw. All right. Talk to your table for a second. Why is it so important to everybody in the store? Why is this an event that people have gathered at the store to listen to? Why is it so important? Talk to each other.
Oh yeah, it is on the radio. So yeah, I guess it was a fight on TV, probably on the radio. Yeah, basically.
What's that?
They were just fighting. And they were just crazy.
Karina, what you know?
We said that it was really important because it's like a black guy against the white guy, so they wanna like they want him to win so they could show that he is capable of blowing just as much as the white guy. So it's important for them.
Xavier, did your group agree or disagree?
Yeah, we agree.
You agree? Jasmine, why? Why did you guys agree?
Because like, it's like a white guy versus a black guy, and it's like during those racial times.
During those racial times. That's an interesting statement. During those racial times. Is it still important when we have black people versus white people, like what race is represented or wins? Ricardo, you're nodding. Give me some more. What are you thinking?
I don't know, in boxing, just like, who did Mayweather fight? What is his name? No, or Canelo or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So Mayweather fought a Mexican guy?
Yeah, he was Mexican, right?
Okay, so
Canelo.
Or the
The other one.
Pacquiao is Islander though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why does that matter to you? Why did you make that
It's
connection?
just like, a lot of people I know wanted Canelo to win.
Because
Just a race.
Race.
it's a race thing, right? And that's okay to name. Jerry, you had your hand up. What'd you see?
Oh, I literally said that same thing. I know people overheard me.
You stole it from you, Jerry. This also makes me think, though, not just about fights, right? Because we're listening to a fight, and you guys made a connection to a fight. But what about like characters in movies and characters in TV shows? What are most of the characters in movies and TV shows?
White.
White. In fact, it's so white that you would not sometimes know that there were other races out there. Yeah, Jerry, go ahead.
Recently, I just saw it in the news. They made somebody made videos of like movies taking out all the white people, and most movies only lasted like half an hour, 20 minutes.
Taking on all the white people. And what's sad is I bet all the people of color were just like so where can I take you? They're like taxi drivers, or what kind of soda do you want? You know, that kind of a thing. They weren't as meaningful of characters. So, I'll have you talk again because I think this is not a question that you expected to hear, but if you never see your race represented in movies or TV shows or other forms of entertainment like that, what message are you receiving? Talk to each other about that.
Like in the show I'm watching right now,
Oh, if you're the one who does? Anyone? Okay.
at the beginning, there's like the family of Mexican driving like Hispanic. Like for me, that I just I want them to like see how I have like a specific mindset for them. Whether like if I don't see someone like that, it makes me like, why? Unless it has to do like with something like racial
So like 12 Years a Slave or something, you understood what
Yeah.
you guys in that one.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. What do you think?
I feel like I did see just one little scene.
So who's like your towards the movie or the TV show? Everybody agree?
Yeah, kind
Kind of. Lily Beth, what did you guys talk about at the table?
Oh, we said
What was that?
maybe, we said maybe, they didn't want us.
Oh, no, we felt unwanted and that.
Feeling unwanted.
Maybe we weren't
Good
like
enough.
put up to their potential, like.
We're not as good as white people.
Yeah.
Why, we don't have any TV shows about us. We're not as good as white people. What else did you guys talk about? Hadia, what'd you say? Uh-oh, she's losing it. What did you guys talk about? Hadia? Brandy, help her out. What did you guys talk about?
Okay, so what we talked about is like they don't think the potential of what a white person would do, like necessarily. So like there's like many movies that I've seen like personally, when a like African American or a Mexican is played by a white person. Like they're not good enough.
So, a character in a book who was a certain color, and then in the movie gets changed to a white person. Have you guys seen that before?
Yeah,
Yes.
mostly in like Egyptian movies because
Like,
Egyptian gods or whatever were black, but they were portrayed as white guys that have like a
Ah.
complexion.
So Middle East gods were black because that was the skin color of the
Gods
people,
and like kings and stuff.
but they're
they
white
played as
in
white
movies.
guys.
Okay. This is a terrible, terrible movie. So I'm not saying I like this movie, but Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh,
Yeah, they
my
changed
gosh.
everything around.
They changed everything. Hello, the kids are all
Qatar is
Asian.
definitely black.
That made
Definitely not
So,
black.
in case you know what we're talking about, in Avatar: The Last Airbender, specifically, everybody was Asian. Like, that's the whole point of it, practically. And then they put out this movie, and it's like the little white kid with literally blue eyes, and he's the main character instead of an Asian kid.
Aang is Asian.
Why?
And most of like that show is based off of like
Amazing.
Asian history and like Boston saying it's like
Exactly.
You should
Asian
mention
stuff.
the anime is made in Asia.
Yeah.
Like,
Right,
the whole
the anime
thing
is made in Asia.
Asia. Obviously, they have Asian.
Did you guys know there's a term for what we're talking about?
What?
Whitewashing.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I used to be
You're like, yes!
I didn't know it.
Yeah. Anybody else talk about anything at their table that they wanted to talk about before we go on to our next question? Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
like, so they wanted the black person to win, cause like when, like a minority race does something, that is like equal to or better than, like particularly, white people, then that kinda like sends a message that, other races can be, you know, better, at certain things than, white people and stuff like that.
So we deserve that respect that you're not giving us because we're just as capable as
Yeah,
you.
because like, you know, there are a lot of people, you know, in a lot of places that, you know, have never seen, you know, a different race before. And like when they watch TV and they see like, a black person on TV and the black person is like a drug dealer or something, they're gonna think that all black people are drug dealers. So like, you know, obviously, you know, don't want that.
That's actually, I think, a really big problem since 9/11 with Middle Eastern characters. They're almost always like terrorists and bombers, and they're always the bad guy. So just being aware of that is kind of a first step, not the whole thing. Idea, she woke up. What's up, Idea?
About, I wanted to ask, why do you think Maya put so much emphasis on this one? She put like the importance of the entire race on this one boxer shoulder.
Ooh, why did Maya? I think both as a character, as an author, why did she put? Sorry, okay, just want to make sure you're done. Why did she put the importance of the whole race on Joe Louis's shoulders? Remember, we're back in the 1930s, so put yourself in that time period. Are there black people in the movies?
No,
Are there black people on the radio?
no.
Occasionally, but almost always as like singers. They're not presenters and speakers and that sort of thing, so they're entertainment. So what's special and different about Joe Louis?
They mentioned it.
Ready?
He's like defying the odds of what people think about him.
Find the odds of what white people think about him, Nathan? Say it. Speak from uncertainty.
They were talking about him on the radio or whatever they were watching.
They're actually talking about him on the radio. White people are forced to talk about him, pay respect to him, that sort of thing. And he's specifically not an entertainer. Say again?
He's an athlete.
He's an athlete. It's a whole different realm of importance. I think we even have this today where, like, we have a lot of black entertainers, but do we have as many black movie stars and professors and even teachers? No, we don't. So it's okay as long as they stay in this one little realm. So, does that help, Henry? A little bit? Getting towards it? All right, I want to honor 2021, and 22, there we are. So 20, Karina, call it, what's that bit? What's the most popular question?
It's between two of them.
Okay,
I would say it says, did Tommy just feel bad for her and that's why he made her his Valentine's Day?
Okay.
Gas tank. Oh, this one, and then this is what, did the molestation by Mr. Freeman affect her views of men?
ooh, we got to talk about that one. And here's the difference. Remember, events versus that insight, that reflection, okay? One of those questions is an event question about making a Valentine. The other one is the reflection question. So chapter 20, where were you looking when you came up with that molestation question?
Right after she shows the 11.
143.
Thank you, 143. Can you read it to us, one of you guys?
It says, why me? Was it a joke? But if Tommy was the boy I remembered, he was a very sober person and a good student. Well, then it wasn't a joke. All right, what evil 3 things did he have in mind?
My My questions spell over themselves, an army in retreat. Haste, dig for cover, protect your flanks. Don't let the enemy close the gap between you. The question that comes out of those lines, did the molestation by Mr. Freeman affect her views and men? 30 seconds, talk to each other.
I think it's was it a joke? I think maybe I did scared. She goes straight to say
Then it says to her, all of the questions for over themselves, an army to retreat.
yeah, she was protecting us.
So she didn't want him to get killed like that because she just, all of that is coming back to her.
Miss Sadie, what do you think?
I think yes, because like how can something so big not affect you?
How can something so big not affect you? Who else have I not picked on today? Samantha, I haven't picked on you. What did you guys talk about?
I think it did affect her because how could something so innocent like a Valentine like make her think that he wanted to do something bad to her?
Something so innocent like a Valentine, and I mean that is like the most innocent of all Valentines, I think. Jason?
We said because on the same thing it says, I began to wonder why me wasn't a joke, and then a little bit after that it says, what dirty things did he have in mind? So only negative thoughts came to her head because of this.
Normally, you're a kid, you get your first Valentine, even if you don't think too much of the guy or the girl, you're like, oh, it's so fun. You know, like silly about it, right? But instead, she immediately has those really negative, scared connotations.
I think yes, and I think it's because it kind of shows that Mr. Freeman is like her first love, because he's the first person that has showed affection towards her, like with the holding, like the nice part or whatever. So I think that him being the first person to ever love her and then turn around and do that to her, she has like this impression of all men, like how people who are like close-minded have the first impression about that category of people from that one person.
Thank you, Ursula, for joining me in that. I really like what you have to say, because that makes me have a connection not just about the love part of it, but about some of the things she said about race and that kind of thing. Just like your first initial interaction is sometimes what colors you for the rest of your life, colors your impressions. Yeah, Ursula?
Didn't she refer to him as her long-lost father?
She does refer to him as her long-lost father. When we talk about, are you talking about romantic love, or does it have to be romantic?
Well, no, just love in general.
Yeah, just feeling loved. Mama always took care of her, right? But do you think Mama was ever a very affectionate person that showed love, tucked her in at night? No, I don't think so either. So that was chapter 20. Chapter 21. Why did Joyce's coming and going change Bailey so much? Chapter 21, please tell us a page number to look at, please. Okay.
It's like the very, it's like 152, like the very end of the chapter, and then before that, it's like 149.
So right there at the very, very end of the chapter, I don't know how long Bailey had known about Joyce, but later in the evening when I tried to bring her name into our conversation, he said, Joyce, she's got somebody to do it to her all the time now. And that was the last time her name was mentioned. And 149.
Like as the Lord served her good.
As their love affair progressed, his stealing from the store increased. We'd always taken candy and a few nickels, and of course the sour pickles. But Bailey, now called upon to feed Joyce's ravening hunger, took cans of sardines and greasy Polish sausage and cheese, and even the expensive cans of pink salmon that our family could seldom afford to eat. Why did Joyce's coming and going change Bailey so much? Any reactions to the Bailey-Joyce love affair? Idea?
I think it has maybe something to do with like, she said that Joyce is like Bailey's first, like I guess relationship love or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So him being, this is his first like relationship or whatever, and him being so young and not necessarily knowing like significance of what he's doing or whatever. And I don't know if he's at the age where like hormones are playing effect or whatever, but like all this stuff about him and her in this relationship and trying to please her because it's like his first love and he doesn't really know how to take care of it or whatever, and then her leaving and him like spending all this time with her and feeding her, and then she's just gone. She feels like used and upset, disappointed, and then like I guess
Who feels used and upset?
Bailey,
Oh, okay, okay.
because like she's gone or whatever.
You guys look at the very beginning of chapter 21, 147. All right, really quick. You just look at that first chapter, or first paragraph. Bailey stuck branches in the ground behind the house and covered them with a worn-through blanket, making a tent. It was to be his Captain Marvel hideaway. There, he initiated girls into the mysteries of sex. One by one, he took the impressed, the curious, the adventurous into the gray shadows. After explaining that they were going to play Mama and Papa, I was assigned the role of baby and lookout. The girls were commanded to pull their dresses up, and then he lay on top and wiggled his hips. Then he meets Joyce. So, who was in charge for all of the other times that he's had sex? He was, right? He did all this to girls who didn't know any better. Then who's in charge with him and Joyce? Joyce is. To the point, and this is the passage that Ian pointed out on 149, he is stealing from the store the expensive stuff, not just penny candy. Okay? And then, and Hadiah was very offended by this. How old is she compared to Bailey? She's 15 to him 11. You guys were 15 and last year, most of you are probably 15. Are you interested in 11-year-olds?
Yeah.
Right?
That's my
Okay. That's what I'm saying. So why did Joyce choose Bailey? Say more, Celia. She took advantage of him.
Wasn't he stealing the expensive stuff from her?
So it was all using him completely. And Nathan, what did you shout out?
That his grandmother owned the stuff.
His mama owned that store. That's where all the good stuff is.
He's
All right.
Sugar daddy.
Sugar daddy. There you go.
He's 11.
He's an 11-year-old sugar daddy. All right, here we go. 22. Page 159. Miss Florida. Really, really, really fast. We're about to run out of time.
What page?
159. 159. Mrs. Florida Taylor's funeral in June came on the heels of our final exam. At first, the news that Mrs. Taylor was dead did not strike me as a particularly newsy bit of information, as children do. I thought that since she was very old, she had only one thing left to do, and that was die. She was a pleasant enough woman, but she is very old. So why did that come up for you guys? How did Miss Florida die? Was that important to the story, or is that an event question?
Yeah, it's an event question.
It's an event question?
Yeah.
So I don't need to touch on it. Okay, it's an event question. She just did die because she's old. Hey guys, what chapter are we through 22? So, 23 and 24 for mañana. Much love. Have a good day. I'd love to have my markers back, or I can come around if you forget, but I'd love to have my markers back.